Good evening, you wonderful, lovely people here tonight. All ready to get motivated, inspired? Well, let me tell you something. I hate lecturing people. It's because I'm not an expert. I'm just a dabbler. I just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's like taking a whole bunch of skills, throwing myself into another hole and then digging myself out. It's always just good for the time being, until I ask myself, well, what next? It's an idea or trait relative to polymathy or multipotentialite, new word, by the way, coined by Emily Putnick. Or jack of all, master of learning. Or in my case, Jane of all. But that's not the point. The point is, I can't commit to being an expert. And don't get me wrong, I think it's great to be an expert. I get that you want to focus on one thing for the rest of your lives. It gives you so much credibility. But it seems to me that people forget to continue learning. Being an expert sounds boring to me because, well, let's see, we have 80,000 hours to plan our career. So why do you want to spend the rest of your life doing just one thing? And I know some of us can, but why not embrace the power of asking, what next? I work full-time as a photographer, cinematographer, and a creative director. And it's great for the time being, or maybe because I actually end up getting paid for torturing my clients. It's true, those pictures only end up being good after they've been through so much of pain, and I love torturing them. I'm going to totally regret saying this. I've always had the habit of insisting on something, even if it's impossible. And being the only child, I always got away with it. So here's the story. My parents and I are vacationing in India. I'm walking down the streets of Mumbai, holding my mom's hand as she shops for her 10th sari. I watched her buy saris the whole day. Exhausted from all the walking, as the last shop closed after us, we head towards the rickshaw, and all of a sudden, I throw a fit. I'm so upset. She got 10 saris and I got nothing. So I demanded that she buy me 10 new outfits immediately. I was 5. So of course all the shops are closed. So she tries to take my little brat butt back into the rickshaw. But I'm crying and whining so much. She has no choice. She has to go back to the shop owner. She has to plead and request him to open up even after he had completely closed down. Just for me. So I got my 10 outfits. None of which I actually liked or wore, but that's irrelevant. Just wanted to see if it was possible. And then I wanted a dog. So I made my mom finally get me one, after she caught me sneaking homeless puppies into the house. So you may think this is a story about me being a very spoiled brat. Spoiled for sure. But I learned that I had power if I insisted on something. I grew up in East Africa, Tanzania, in a city called Dar es Salaam. And like any Indian community living outside of India, we were regular visitors to the video cassette library, just steps from my house, with shelves full of Hindi movies. And I made it my mission to watch everything: arts, parallel cinema, mainstream. I indulged in watching movies helplessly, even if that meant tiptoeing into the living room middle of the night when my parents were asleep. Films were not just inspiration for me. They were my source of information, and I used that to hone my skills for singing and acting, dancing. I ended up learning Hindi fluently, even though my mother tongue is Gujarati and I never even lived in India. In school, I indulged in theater, art, music, all of which channeled very quickly to me wanting to be on stage to perform. And as it happened, I dedicated my entire school life just to be on stage. I wanted to be everything, a singer, a dancer, director, all at once. But this is not unique to me. This happens to every child. If you ever ask a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? Notice they'll always have a different answer. I want to be a Superman. I want to be a pilot. I want to be an actress. I want to be a fireman. And why not? Brain soaks up knowledge much faster than we realize at this age, and unless stifled by social restrictions, childhood influences can make us wonderfully multifaceted personalities. And parents want us to develop as many skills as possible at this age. In China, parents encourage kids to play the piano because moving fingers stimulate brain-enhanced learning. In India, long gone are the days when being academically strong was the only benchmark. I'm sure it's true for many families, but cricket, generating so many sport idols, especially with the advent of IPL, which is the Indian Premier League equivalent of the NFL, parents are scurrying kids to cricket coaching classes now more than ever. And of course in US, our kids do all kinds of extracurricular activities. Ballet, horse riding, swimming. Our education system facilitates kids to becoming multifaceted. But something changes drastically as we're about to step into adulthood and are ready for college. Suddenly, it's not lucrative anymore to be multifaceted, not practical. No more fooling around. Find your passion. My dad used to say, Mili, you can be anything you want in life, anything at all. Be a plumber, but be the best plumber. Be a janitor, but be your best janitor. Indian parents, so dramatic. The idea of universal education was essential to achieving polymathic abilities. Hence the word university. I totally looked that up. But today, we're made to cull our skills. Skills we work so hard to get as children, just to focus on one thing. As for me, the extracurricular activities like the singing and the dancing and the theater had taken up a front seat while I was growing up. My inability to add and multiply stand witness to this. In fact, I'm also geographically challenged. I could never tell north, south, east, west. I'm sure I still can't. So when it came time for me to choose, it was impossible. I just wanted to dabble into everything. I interned as a production coordinator while completing my bachelor's in communications and journalism. And then I ventured into freelance editing, impressing people with my skills and my tricks, the slow motion, the cheesy graphics. I used my wedding video, which I edited myself and then showed to people as portfolio. And while those skills were being developed, the idea of shooting a wedding video sounded more appealing to me. Besides, the footage I got was so terrible. I thought I had to do something about it. But it wasn't all that cool to be a wedding videographer back then. The industry was thriving on old school photographers and old school videographers and Uncle Bobs. There was just no room for a girl who just walked up in a wedding with a standard def camera, you know, with the big ones, tripping on my cord, not knowing what an f-stop was. But I insisted on making it happen, even at the expense of being pushed. And I've literally been pushed at a wedding by a photographer, pushed on the ground, face down. I've been pushed, shoved, hassled by Uncle Bobs all the time, and I didn't hesitate to step on their toes either whenever I needed to with my 5-inch heels. When I realized my true potential, that brides were comfortable with me, I decided to venture into being an entrepreneur. First, transitioning from a videographer to a cinematographer with the launch of DSLRs. Totally changed my life. And then expanding more skills in the realm of my business, sometimes as a writer, sometimes as a director, sometimes as a stylist, sometimes even as a set designer. And while working with so many inspiring people, also falling in love with photography. So I ventured into that as well. Every time asking myself, what should I do next? How can I learn this? How can I do that better? Nothing was planned in my life. Absolutely nothing. I was just compelled to doing things that I found interesting at the time and insisting on making it happen. Of course, when I couldn't insist, I turned to Dr. Phil and Oprah, which is my husband and my mom, a bigger reason for who I am today. I pushed through that tunnel to see the light. And every bit of my journey through that tunnel has been crucial to who I am today. But it's time to push through another tunnel to see another light. They say to us, you just haven't found your true calling. Good. I hope I don't. Because for some of us, there'll never be a true calling. You can't always feel good all the time and not worry about the future. I say feel good for the time being and accept when it's time to move on. Accept that there may only be a temporary feeling of greatness. Sounds awful? But it's because as we evolve, our desires, life, wants are going to change, and they change continuously. Even our body cells change every 7 years. We're biologically not even the same person. So why not join the club? Sometimes you get a feel for something and you reach capacity, which could mean taking a new path that would align with the person that you've become to the life that you want. One of the most revered science fiction authors of the 20th century, Robert Heinlein, once said, and I'm really going to have to read this because it's terribly long, a human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equation, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. To this, I'll also add, teach a yoga class, go design an app, find Nemo, build furniture inside out the way I do it, traverse a mountain. Don't choose if you don't want to. Set your mind free and be happy for the time being. Thank you so much.